The NBA is a global league. More than 43 countries have produced a player, and nearly 12,000 athletes have been drafted into its ranks. From Africa to Europe, from Asia to South America, the league has become a melting pot of cultures and talent. But out of all those players, only one has come from India, a country of over 1.4 billion people, making up more than 17% of the world's population. How could a nation so massive with such a deep reservoir of people produce only a single NBA player? That man's name is Satnam Singh, and his story is one of the most remarkable draft tales in NBA history. It's a journey that began in a small village, on a farm with no basketball courts, no real opportunities, and no path to the NBA. Yet somehow, against all odds, Satnam Singh became the first Indian-born player drafted into the league. What happened to him after that is both inspiring and heartbreaking, a tale of dreams realized and expectations that proved too heavy to carry. Satnam was born in a village of just 8,000 people. His life was simple, rooted in farming and family, and he grew up believing his destiny was to one day take over the family farm. His school days were cut short so he could help with chores and maintenance, and basketball was the farthest thing from anyone's mind. He hadn't even heard of the sport, let alone seen it on television. But Satnam had something no one could ignore: his size. At just 10 years old, he already stood 6'6", a height that made him look like a grown man among children. His father was 7'2", his grandmother nearly 6'9", and neighbors constantly suggested that he was destined for something beyond farming. One day, after reading a newspaper article about a local academy recruiting tall kids, his father nudged him to give basketball a try. At first, Satnam thought he was signing up for volleyball, but once he touched a basketball, something clicked. It was awkward, it was foreign, but it was love. He began playing for fun, then training seriously, and soon even his family, who once thought the sport was a distraction, began to support his dream. His first coach went so far as to say Satnam was born to play basketball. At 10 years old, Satnam made the bold decision to leave home and train full-time at one of India's few basketball academies. The conditions were brutal. The court had holes in the roof, summers made it unbearably hot, and the facilities were bare bones. At first, he hated it. He missed home, he missed his family, and quitting seemed like the logical choice. But Satnam had already glimpsed the spark of possibility. Even though basketball in India was almost non-existent, there were no regular tournaments, no organized setup, and no professional system. He believed he could be the one to change that. That belief only grew stronger when the NBA itself launched a new initiative in India. In 2010, Troy Justice, the league's director of basketball operations, arrived in the country looking for talent. The first player he saw stepping off the train in Ludhiana was Satnam Singh. Justice was stunned. Satnam was massive, strong, and only 14 years old. The problem was he didn't even own proper shoes. His feet were size 19, and no store in India could sell him sneakers that big. He played in slippers until Justice made a call and had a pair of size 19 basketball shoes shipped in. That simple gift changed everything. With shoes that fit, Satnam dominated. He led his Punjabi state team to a national championship and became the clear choice for something bigger. Soon, IMG Academy in Florida, one of the premier athletic development schools in the world, took notice. They had trained future NBA stars before, and Satnam, now 6'11" at just 14, was the kind of raw project they loved to mold. He was given a scholarship and moved to the United States, leaving his family and culture behind to chase an impossible dream. But the transition wasn't easy. He barely spoke English. He couldn't communicate with teammates or coaches, and isolation weighed heavily on him. Training was grueling, with most of his time spent lifting weights instead of playing basketball. He lost confidence. But Satnam refused to give up. Slowly, he learned the language, began to understand the game, and improved his skills. By his later years at IMG, he was averaging close to a double-double against elite competition. Scouts began to take notice. There was, however, one major setback. Despite his improvements, Satnam's academic eligibility wasn't strong enough to qualify for the NCAA. He had worked tirelessly on his English, but standardized tests and the NCAA's strict requirements held him back. Without college as an option, his path to the NBA became complicated. His agent, Travis King, realized the only chance left was to declare for the NBA draft directly. It was unprecedented. No one had been drafted straight out of high school since the league banned the practice years earlier. Satnam was projected to go undrafted. Still, King pulled strings to get him an invitation to the 2015 NBA Draft Combine, where scouts from all 30 teams would see him. To everyone's surprise, Satnam impressed enough to keep teams interested. He wasn't a polished player, but at 7'2" with strength, size, and a soft touch, he had potential. The Chicago Bulls, Indiana Pacers, Houston Rockets, and Dallas Mavericks all brought him in for private workouts. On draft night, it looked like his dream was slipping away as pick after pick went by. But at number 52 overall, the Dallas Mavericks made history. They selected Satnam Singh, making him the first Indian-born player ever drafted into the NBA. Back home in India, he was celebrated as a national hero. He was compared to Yao Ming in China, seen as the man who could open the door for an entire country to embrace basketball. Satnam played in the 2015 NBA Summer League, scoring points, grabbing rebounds, and showing flashes of what he could become. But instead of joining the Mavericks roster, he was assigned to their G League affiliate, the Texas Legends. There, reality set in. Satnam struggled to adjust to the speed and athleticism of professional basketball. His numbers were modest and improvement came slowly. After 2 years, it became clear that he wasn't going to make the leap. By 2017, his time with the Mavericks was over. Still, Satnam didn't quit. He played for the Indian national team, where he sometimes shined, like in World Cup qualifiers where he dropped 20 points and 10 rebounds against Jordan. But inconsistency haunted him. His club stints in Canada were underwhelming, and in 2019 his career took a devastating blow when he was suspended for 2 years due to a doping violation. Whether intentional or accidental, the ban effectively ended his basketball career. He was only 25, and yet Satnam's story doesn't end there. Refusing to fade into obscurity, he reinvented himself. In 2021, he joined All Elite Wrestling, becoming one of the first Indian stars in the organization. His size and presence made him a natural fit for the world of professional wrestling. He's had viral moments, major matches, and even championship success. The farm boy from a tiny village in India who once dreamed of basketball glory has now built a second career as an international entertainer. Today, Satnam is 30 years old. He never played in an official NBA game, but he made history. He became the first Indian ever drafted into the league. He showed what was possible, inspired thousands of kids back home, and proved that even the most impossible dream can be reached if you dare to chase it. His basketball career may not have been what everyone hoped, but his legacy is secure. Satnam Singh did the impossible. So now the question is yours. Was Satnam Singh a victim of bad timing, entering the NBA when the league was shifting away from traditional big men? Would his career have been different if he'd been allowed to play college basketball? Or was his path always destined to be about making history rather than dominating on the court? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into the most unforgettable stories in sports.